welcome to Listen Up, my new little audio podcast where I am going to be talking about those topics that are on my heart and soul. This is my joy. Welcome back, you beautiful beings. In today's episode, we are going to discuss mediumship and the qualities of an excellent medium, according to this gorgeous and vibrant Scottish medium named Lauren Robertson, who wrote the book The Medium in Manolos, a life-affirming guide to modern mediumship. She's lived my dream. She's gotten to attend the Arthur Findlay College in Stansted, England, which is the real-life Hogwarts. And she's devoted her life to spirit communication since she was in her late teens. And I've always thought, if I lived my life over again in a slightly different way, I would love to have cultivated my gifts at that age, when I was 16 or 17, and maybe just read oracle cards for my friends, or just somehow, some way to just have started to practice my abilities a little bit sooner. I was not raised in a family that supported my gifts and abilities. I was not raised in a family of psychics. I was not raised in a family of mediums. I was actually raised in a really conservative, religious family that didn't talk about these things. So when I started seeing spirits at birth, actually, I was raised in a amazing, gorgeous Victorian era mansion. Truly beautiful. So beautiful. 4 stories, 9 bedrooms, tunnels that went under the streets. And that was because there was many mansions on the road, and they shared like butlers and staff, and they would use the walkways under the streets. And my earliest memories are of spirit beings coming to me. There are so many. Some of the spirits were terrifying to me. Their personalities were so intense. I mean, there was one man who was one of the homeowners, and he was just an angry man. He was very controlling. He was someone who yelled a lot, and his spirit frightened me. The spirit that I remember the most, that I saw the most, was actually, I wonder what her actual title would have been. She was someone who helped care for the kids and did some cooking and cleaning. I always had the sense that her name was Beatrice. Beautiful woman. I saw her all the time, every day pretty much. She would sit in a rocking chair in the corner of my room, like her spirit form. And yeah, I saw these beings as apparitions, I suppose is what you would describe them as. They looked perfectly human-like. I mean, every human feature was visible, but the color was slightly out of them. A little bit more like on the sepia or black or white spectrum, as opposed to like full human color. I interpreted them to be a living part of my reality, just like my parents or anyone else, although I knew there was something different about them. I think the typical story of a medium, and by the way, I'm not a medium, not yet. I hope one day to be. I am a psychic at this point, and many of you may not even differentiate the two, but there is a difference. There's a big difference. A psychic speaks to the guides and is here to support and assist an individual in navigating their human journey and making decisions which will lead to the greatest benevolence and prosperity in their life. A medium's job is different. A medium is here to connect an individual with their, quote, departed loved ones who are on the other side. They're here to ensure the continuation of love and connection after one's physical death. Those are 2 different skill sets. I'm on my 9.5 year as a psychic at this point. And I consider all of this like practice with communicating with the spirit world to be preparation to hopefully one day be a skilled medium. In my opinion, mediumship is more challenging because you're communicating with regular people's souls on the other side, like someone's mom or their child or their friend, versus in psychic work, you're communicating with spirit guides and angels who are masters at reaching into our dimension and making connection with us. So the guides are very, very good. They know how to communicate. They know how to get through to a psychic. Versus with mediumship, you're communicating with a spirit who might not have a lot of experience in speaking with a medium. Maybe they're still learning. And maybe, like in my case, like I'm still learning too. It's definitely a different frequency. It's definitely like a different radio station, if you will, at least in my experience. I have always felt that if I was living my maximal expression of my gifts and abilities, maybe that would be as a spirit medium, actually. Simply because I think that's where my journey began. Eventually, it overwhelmed my system maximally. I felt like as a child, like I was living two lives. Like I had this like normal life. I went to preschool, I went to kindergarten, I played with friends, and then I would come home and like the spirits would come sit on my bed and try to talk to me, and they were engaged in a very intense drama that played out every day and stuff, and I just couldn't handle it. It scared me, a lot of what I saw, a lot of what I heard. I prayed from the deepest place within myself that I've ever prayed for anything. I prayed for God to take it all away so I wouldn't see the spirits anymore and just to have a normal life. My like maximum expression of my life might be to open the door again and sort of face the fear and embrace the gift and ability. For me, becoming a psychic was a huge step in that direction. Just having to, after receiving so much education at university and so many expectations from my family, to actually pursue psychic work as my profession and commit myself to it was radical. And it was a huge fear of mine to do that. But mediumship is even a step further. It's one thing to advise people on their journeys with help from God, Source, Universe, the guides, and the angels. Like on the other side is another thing to speak to the dead or let the dead speak through you. In my journey, that's a whole nother level. But I've always just honored in a way that words don't even convey, like those who walk this path with sanctity, mediums who devote their lives to this. And I feel that so much healing flows through mediumship when it's done in a true and genuine way. Because the greatest fear on this planet tends to be the fear of death. And genuine mediumship reaches beyond the veil of death and proves the continuation of life after death. And for people that are touched on an individual basis with the knowing that their soul lives on. Grief is such an intense thing. And I think when a person is grieving a loved one, that's one of the greatest bits of suffering that could happen. And when they get to feel the presence of that individual and know somehow definitively that individual that they thought was gone actually exists somewhere. I mean, that's like the greatest gift. Connecting a person with their guides, which is something I do regularly in my work, that's also a huge gift. If we can even for a moment feel the love of our guides and the support and the encouragement to feel that presence of the spirit world, that's very, very key too. So I guess there's beauty in both. But anyway, I've just always had this feeling like if I was living like maximally my path and purpose, I might be like Maya Joy the medium. But I'm just not there yet. Occasionally, I'll accidentally make connection to a departed loved one on the other side, and their presence is like huge and their presence is strong. But it's currently a link that only happens on accident. It's not something I can call up at will at this point. It's funny though, sometimes I'll wake up on a particular day and I don't know if it's just that door to that part of the spirit world is open or whatever, but for that day, I will walk around in the world and I'll like see in a way that's hard to describe here now, but I'll like see a person's departed loved ones around them, just regular people, like people at the store or parents picking up their kids from school and stuff like that. And I see the loved ones around them, and sometimes there's messages there, and then I'll just go to bed, and the next day I'll wake up and it won't be like that. I don't know. I just feel a sense of destiny around it. But anyway, mediumship to me is still like a magical mystery in a lot of regards. And so I picked this month a few books on mediumship as part of my collection. And so that's how I found my way to this book, The Medium in Manolos. And I wanted to share something with you all from the book. So I decided to share the chapter on the qualities of an excellent medium, because I thought this was really interesting and it wasn't quite what I was expecting. In this chapter, Lauren brings forth 13 qualities of an excellent medium. And I kind of read this and I thought, okay, where am I at in each one of these? The first one is desire. I see how that can be number one. No amount of ability can bring someone results if they don't want it. Like a person could be born and they could have just this amazing ability to just run and run super fast, and like within them might be the capacity to win, you know, the cross country at the Olympics or something, but they don't have the desire to run, they'll never achieve anything. So this makes sense as a starting place. To be a great medium, you have to have a desire to be a medium. My desire is definitely there. I definitely have a desire, but I think I'm really in love with being a psychic at this time. Like I'm really in love with it and astrology, and I'm love beyond love. I'm in love like right now with human design, with studying it and helping people learn like these amazing strategies to succeed in life, like according to their design and things like that. Number 2, according to Lauren, is faith. This is big. This is really, this one I've got. I definitely have this. I have faith, big faith. Big faith in the spirit world. Big faith in the spirits on the other side. Big faith in the existence of life after death. I have more faith in the reality of the survival of the soul after death than I have of the reality I see right in front of me right now. The spirit world is home. So like we all return there. I know that for sure. She says we need faith in ourself. That's the harder part. I think I put mediumship on such a pedestal, it's hard to feel like worthy of the gift truly, especially because I did, like I said, I did pray for God to take it away. So that faith is a little bit harder, but faith in yourself, your abilities, and faith in the spirit world. Something Lauren talks about is resilience. Sometimes you're going to let people down. If someone comes and they want to speak to Uncle Larry could be off in the spirit world doing something else. Maybe he has nothing to say. Maybe what he has to say isn't what the person wants to hear, this and that. With psychic work, it's true as well. Sometimes a connection just isn't as strong in a reading. You know, sometimes it's difficult for the medium, or it's difficult for the sitter, or for whatever reason, the connection just isn't made. And I think that even for the best of mediums, that can happen a lot more often. And so a good medium needs to have resilience to be able to bounce back. You can have a reading, it's a great reading, it's a great connection, and then the very next one, maybe a lot of it doesn't resonate with the client, or the person they were hoping doesn't show up. I'm growing my resilience, but I can tend to be very shaken if ever I feel that in any attempt to do good that I accidentally did harm. I've been very consciously aware recently of my desire to grow my resilience and my ability to bounce back after any kind of setback. The fourth quality that Lauren talks about is commitment. So a medium has to be committed to continuously practicing, doing readings over and over again, growing their gifts and also growing themselves. Because when you're a medium or a psychic, you need to maintain a connection to divine beings on the other side, but also you're going through your own human challenges at the same time. And so there's this need to invest a lot in one's personal development and one sense of self, and to sort of peel back the layers that sometimes can filter out the pureness of the message and things like that. And so Lauren talks a lot about commitment. I think knowing that setbacks are going to be a part of the journey, there's got to be that commitment to continuing on. I've always felt like if I live like long enough, like I'll eventually become a medium. But once I do, the psychic work's probably over, because I would commit to the craft of mediumship, that it is a different frequency and it is a different skill set. And once I started doing that, that would be it. Like I always felt that. Like I always felt like, okay. So that's why when I start, I really want to be, like I really, 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 really want to be ready. But commitment to that path, commitment to that journey, and sticking it out through the highs and lows. To me, mediumship is so much more intense. It's so much more emotional because you're on the front lines of grief with people and love and like intense human emotion pouring forth. That takes a grit. That takes a stick with itness. You know, you've got to see people through their tears. That's not always an easy thing to do. The fifth quality of an excellent medium is selflessness. There are moments where you definitely have to prioritize that person in front of you above your personal needs, goals, and desires. I experienced this as well as a psychic. I might have plans of what I want to do for myself, projects, leisure, but a client is in need and they need guidance right away. And so whatever I have going on goes out the window. She describes selflessness as the ability to lose oneself when working with spirit. Yes, this is something I definitely have for sure. It's so funny. I'll wake up every day and I'll be very aware of what I desire, like in terms of what I'm trying to get out of the day. And then somewhere around mid-morning, I'll sit down and I'll begin readings. And I forget. Sometimes I forget who I am. Sometimes when I emerge from a reading, I don't even remember my name. But I can tell you for sure that whatever it was that I had planned for the day doesn't matter to me anymore, because I've lost that sense of ego and self during the process of the readings. It actually sounds odd when you say it out loud, like losing your sense of self, but actually it's like the most beautiful experience of every single day. It almost feels like waking up, like from a reading. Partially this may be because most of my readings I do like blindfolded with an eye mask, and I see so many visions during the readings, and that's how I receive a lot of information, is visually, and then I pass that information on to the clients. It's just the best feeling. So I could say I'm high on this one, in the selflessness one. I do think this is really important and astute of Lauren to point that out. She describes a special type of focus. Number 6 is focus. This ability to be receptive while also having a mindful alertness. I think she did her best to describe this state of mind, but it's not easy to describe. To be present enough of mind to be like a receiving channel and to be able to utilize language while also being in a gentle enough, like a theta type of brain state. It's kind of like an in-between state. Psychic readings are like this too. it's sort of like that state between sleep and waking. And I think with practice as a medium, you can cultivate the ability to yield that state at will. Hopefully. Like that would be hopefully to have one foot, figurative foot in the spirit world, one in the physical world at the same time. I think of it as being like a translator. The next quality that Lauren talks about is communication skills. Yes. That's actually my undergraduate degree. It's called Scientific and Technical Communication Arts. And it's all about taking complex information and making it understandable to a general audience. Communication skills are key. She talks even about just having a large vocabulary. The spirit world brings us information according to like what is within our brain. They communicate to us according to our memories and visions within our brain. They speak through the vocabulary that we know. So the more skilled someone is in communication, the more that there is to draw on, the better that they'll be. I think no matter how strong someone has in terms of the gift, like the ability to connect with spirit, if they can't convey the message and they can't, then that's not going to work. So I definitely agree with Lauren. Communication skills are key. The next quality of an excellent medium is compassion. I think with mediumship, it needs to be 10 out of 10 every day, because almost everyone, I would say pretty much everyone that comes to you is probably grieving or is probably in pain. There does exist compassion fatigue. I think a lot of times therapists get that. I think a lot of times physicians get it. I think it can happen to mediums. So for a person to be able to engage in enough self-care that they're able to be compassionate for every person, no matter how many readings they're doing, understanding that person in front of you is probably grieving or in pain, and show up in compassion for everyone. I think that's really important. The ninth quality of an excellent medium, according to Lauren, is the desire to learn. This I have. I definitely have this. Ensuring that we don't fall into spiritual ego and that we're always open-minded enough, and we're always learning, and we're always growing, and we're always developing. I think a desire to learn and refine is going to lead to excellent mediumship. And a lack of desire to learn may not. Likewise, Lauren talks about, for the 10th quality, a desire to do better. Yes, this I definitely have. I definitely have this one in my psychic work. For me personally, the desire for continual improvement and betterment of my gifts and abilities is as strong as the desire for oxygen or water or sleep. Every bit of every part of every fabric of who I am on all levels desires that. Desires continuous improvement and getting better and better every day. And any day I live and I don't feel a little bit better when I go to sleep, as opposed to when I woke up, maybe a little bit more wiser, a little bit kinder, a little bit more talented or something. If I don't fundamentally feel better in some way, I feel discouraged. You know what I mean? So definitely the desire to do better and keep getting better. Well, that makes sense. It's one thing to be a medium, but that's not what Lauren's talking about here. She's talking about becoming an excellent medium. The 11th quality is a sense of humor. That sort of sprightness and that spirit and that silliness is actually a really high vibration, and it can help sometimes to strengthen that connection. So some people are very jovial, they're very playful, they're very funny, and if you're going to bring through their messages in spirit, you've got to be able to go there too. I think a sense of humor should just be a requirement for all people everywhere all the time, because laughter is healing medicine. And sometimes the best thing we can do is just we've just got to be able to make light of whatever situation. So I love that she put sense of humor there. And also the 12th quality is joy. Yes, joy, joy, joy. I died like a bit for a while, for 10 days in 2014. And I came back with a message. I wish I came back with a full memory of the whole thing, but I did not. But I did come back with a message, and the message was life is about joy. And it like I was a little bit comatose, but whilst I was like after kind of waking up, over and over again in my head was life is about joy. Life is about joy. Life is about joy. Life is about joy. That was my message from the other side. I don't know if I've been true enough to that message. But I'll tell you this, I didn't want to forget because it was really potent at that moment. And so I decided I would change my middle name to Joy. So Joy is not my last name, it's my middle name, Maya Joy. I didn't know if I would ever become a psychic or a medium. I always knew if I lived true to myself, I would. I knew that, like, for sure. But I didn't know if I'd ever live, like, really true to myself because it required facing so many fears. I mean, so many security fears, so many fears of what other people would think, so many fears of being rejected by my family, letting everyone down, all this kind of stuff, not having the gift strong enough, all this kind of stuff, so many fears, so much fear. But I will say this. I always knew if I ever did this sort of work, it was important to do it with joy. I always felt that. I went to a really serious church, many really serious churches growing up, and I always thought, no, I think there's a better way. Like, if this person here giving the sermon seemed happier, I think that would be better. Like, I always just thought that. Like, oh, they should be happy because they know God. They should be happy because they know God. So I do think joy is important. And the final quality of an excellent medium, according to Lauren, is love. She's put it pretty simply. She says at the end of this chapter, if you don't know love, you don't know spirit. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's not necessarily the romantic love, although I think the more love you've experienced, the better you can be as a medium, because the more you can understand the person in front of you. And there's many types of love that could lead a person to a medium, like a parental love. They could have lost a romantic partner. If it could be a family love, a friend love. The more love that you've experienced, probably the more you can identify with and understand that person's journey. But certainly love itself, like agape love, that's the frequency of the spirit world. I just stand in awe of the times where I've had the ability to be able to feel the love that spirit guides have for us. There are moments where, for whatever reason, the guides transferred to me the maximal, I was going to say the full amount of love and warmth that they have for the soul that they're guiding, but I couldn't say it's the full amount because how would I know? There was one reading I did where this happened. I actually fell over in my chair. Like I was like knocked over by the love. That sounds really crazy, but that is what happened. I was shooketh. Like I just never in my life have I ever felt anything like that before or since. It's the greatest love I've ever experienced. I would give up every other human experience that I've ever had in this life just to feel that love once more. I mean, that's it. Like if we truly don't know love, we'll never be able to be an excellent medium or psychic or priest or anything. So I think to be excellent, there's got to be the love. A little bit of the love has to flow through the reading, a little bit of love. And I think sometimes even in both directions. When I did do a little bit of mediumship preview, it really surprised me that sometimes people wanted me to give the message to the other side. they weren't there just to receive, but they wanted to make sure that their love made it to the other side. And I said, it's making it. Trust me, every thought of love that we put out there, when we imagine our loved one in our mind, and we're imagining it with love, they feel that love. They're getting the love. When we feel the love, we are connected. No medium is necessary for that. But I honor mediums, especially those that are excellent mediums, the most. I honor them the most. They inspire me the most. And yeah, I'm grateful for Lauren for sharing her experience and writing her book. It was very interesting to read, and it was a great experience. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed learning about it and hearing me blah, 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 talk about mediumship and my relationship to it. And yeah, thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening, and namaste.